From the analysis of Charles Barkley to George Zimmerman's handgun, here are today's top lines. Retreat.
Whenever I look at George, I'm always going to see, and he's always going to have to live with, just as anyone who had to take someone's life, that they have to carry that burden around for the rest of their life now.
So say we all four-person. Does either side want to pull?
I don't want to block my blessings by having any hatred in my heart for him. So I would pray for him.
We are deeply sorry for this tragedy, and we pray for the departed. We pray for Trayvon Martin.
You can tell me you're sorry for my loss and then stabbing me in the back at the same time.
There was some racial profiling, no question about it. But something happened to change the dynamic of that night.
It would seem to be that Trayvon Martin overreacted to what he perceived to be something going on, and he overreacted in a violent way. I
feel sorry that young kid got killed, but just judging by the evidence, I don't think that guy should have went to jail for the rest of his life.
I decided today that until stand your ground law is abolished in Florida, I will never perform there again.
I don't know how much demand Stevie's in right now. With all due respect.
It's been open season on black young men across the country.
Yeah, by other black young men.
No.
What's lacking in this conversation is an empathy and appreciation for the humanity of Trayvon Martin.
Called Trayvon Martin a dope-smoking, racist gangsta wannabe.
Black thugs are killing black people.
He's a free man in the eyes of the court, but he's going to be looking around his shoulder for the rest of his life.
Can you imagine feeling like you're being followed? Everyone just assuming you're a criminal? If I were him, I'd wear something to hide my face.
If he could, he would carry a gun again?
Yes. Even more reason now, isn't there?
You're saying he needs to protect himself?
Yes.
And the way to do it is by carrying a weapon?
It's one way.
Let's get right to our panel. Joining us now is MSNBC contributor Goldie Taylor and Dana Milbank, a political columnist with the Washington Post. Goldie, as you know, the president has made a rather extraordinary unannounced appearance today at the White House to talk about the George Zimmerman acquittal. And here's part of what the president said. Take a listen, Goldie.
So folks understand the challenges that exist for African-American boys. But they get frustrated, I think, if they feel that there's no context for it, and that context is being denied. And that all contributes, I think, to a sense that if a white male teen was involved in the same kind of scenario, that from top to bottom, both the outcome and the aftermath might have been different.
Goldie, when the president says that the outcome might have been different, what does he mean?
Sure. I think he explicitly means if the roles had been reversed, if George Zimmerman had been African-American, if Trayvon Martin had been white or Hispanic or white Hispanic, then maybe, just maybe, the police officers would have investigated more fully that night. Maybe, just maybe, there would have been an arrest more immediately. Maybe, just maybe, there would not have needed to have been, marches in the street to sort of force due process to take place. And so I think that's what the president means, but I think he went even further than that. We've been talking about for the last 18 or 19 months about how we have to parent our sons differently. And what I've begun to say is, unless it is validated, unless people really understand that we must parent our sons differently, then we'll always have to, because they'll always face these kinds of environments.
Yeah. Dana, again, the president said that both the outcome and the aftermath may have been different, as Goldie pointed out, if Trayvon had been white. But compare that statement to what defense counsel Mark O'Mara had to say about what would have happened if his client, George Zimmerman, had been black. Take a listen to this, Dana.
Well, I think that the things would have been different if George Zimmerman was black for this reason. He never would have been charged with a crime.
So, Dana, the criminal justice system is biased in favor of African Americans. Is that right?
Goodness gracious, you'd think he'd have enough decency to just keep his mouth shut at this point. The president, by contrast, had one of his best moments, I think, this afternoon when he came out there and surprised everybody, speaking without notes, and basically as something of a racial healer, saying, jury's spoken, putting some doubt on whether the federal government will get involved in any way, but also just speaking in such a personal, powerful way. I think Americans probably never paused to think that their future president was once followed around a department store and heard door locks clicking because he was there and he was a black man. So I think he was able to bring this home to people of all races in a way that only he could do today. And that was it was a statement perhaps a bit overdue, but very powerfully made.
But I have to come back at you, Dana, because a number of conservatives in the media and elsewhere are condemning the president, saying that he's race baiting and that he ginned up this story.
I am shocked that conservatives would be condemned.
Yes, I thought you would be.
This president puts on his shoes in the morning and he's condemned for the way
of course
he ties
he is.
his laces.
He wakes up. Condemn him.
You know, look, I mean, I don't know what more could be asked of him. He didn't say the jury verdict was an outrage. He said Eric Holder is looking into what more can be done, but these things are handled at the state level. And then he proposed the most benign solution to say, let's take a look at race. He wasn't ramming any agenda down anybody's throat. He was talking about the issue that we're all talking about from a unique perspective. Look, he's botched questions of race before. We all remember the beer summit, but he seems to have learned from that and was an eloquent spokesman today.
Goldie, what's your reaction to the very fine line that the president has to walk on this issue?
Well, I think it's clear that people hear what they want to hear to fit their personal narratives. The same is true about this case. It's like a Rorschach test. You look at the ink spot and you see really what you want to see. I think many of us have been making statements rather strongly across social networks, and we've been attacked. Not because we've necessarily said the wrong thing, but because people have failed to really want to see it through a cultural lens, to see the cultural context. I think the president could say that the sky was blue and people would swear up and down that it was green and that he was a socialist for calling it blue. And so at the end of the day, it really is about hearing the narrative that you select rather than hearing the one that brings us together in a place of healing, and that's what the president was out to do today. Unfortunately, that's going to continue to fall on deaf ears for some people on the left and on the right.
Well, Goldie Taylor and Dana Milbank, we're glad that both of you can talk so eloquently and intelligently about this issue. Thank you so much. Coming up, an attorney for the family of Trayvon Martin joins us to discuss the reaction of Trayvon's parents to what the president has just said. Stay with us.